Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic.
I am Barry P. Cook, and I'm here to review the premiere episode of Batwoman Season 2. So, this show was not a show that I had been able to review during Season 1 because I didn't have my channel at the time. So this will be the first time I'm reviewing Batwoman on the channel, and I'm starting off the second season, which of course is after the big shakeup where they had to change the main character because Ruby Rose quit. And you know, it is sort of bearing the lead to say that this show has had its struggles. You know, it hasn't been the most popular. People have picked on it a lot. I did not think season 1 was great. I watched it because I like Ruby Rose as an actress, at least based on her previous work. I didn't think she did a great job in this part, particularly. I like to look at the lady. I know she's not one to look at the guys, but that's okay. I still like looking at her. You know, I like DC Comics. I like the Batwoman character. I like the CW shows. So I wanted to you know, continue to watch the show because I always watch the crossovers, of course, and you know, you want to be current on everything, and it's something to watch. You know, there's worse shows on TV, believe it or not, or shows on TV that interest me even less than this show did, despite the fact that the writing was never great. Going into season 2, a lot of people were upset that when Ruby Rose quit, they didn't just recast her part and instead created a whole new character, which by itself, I think, you know, people had a problem with. I'm not thrilled with it, but, you know, I was ready to give it a go for season 2 just because I'd watched season 1 and for the reasons I just gave you. People were further upset that they seem to have deliberately cast a black actress who also happens to be gay and that the character is also gay because they think it was sort of what you might call a diversity hire, or that they did it to tick boxes and they didn't do it because she was the best actress for the part. You know, that they didn't do it because the character's sexuality is important to the story. They just did it to tick boxes. I don't know if that's true or not, but my point is a lot of people were cheesed and not interested in watching the second season or are watching it with a jaundiced eye. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of a big deal. I went into it thinking, okay, I'm not thrilled that they changed characters. I'm not thrilled that they went with a black actress because I think the look of the character is important, and the character has always been one with like lily white skin, ruby red lips, and ruby red hair, and it's not going to be that anymore, and that's kind of a disappointment to me. I really liked the look of the character, which I guess is a dumb thing, but it's just, I'm just being honest. So I wasn't thrilled, but I was determined to see whether it was any good because I didn't want to just say, oh, it's going to be crap now and give up on it. That's not me. So I watched it, and overall I liked it. Now, it's just one episode, and we're going to have to see where it goes, but at this point, I'm optimistic. Let me break down my my view of the episode for you. First of all, quick plot synopsis. Kate Kane goes missing when a plane that she was supposedly on crashes, and Javicia Leslie's character, Ryan Wilder, finds the bat suit in the wreckage of the plane crash when this crash happens right outside her van down by the river, which also a lot of fun has been made of that because of the Chris Farley character on Saturday Night Live. Anyway, the first note I wrote was with the opening shot of the episode, and I wrote, look, it's the van down by the river. So I thought that having Kate Kane go missing in a plane crash was good. There's 100 different ways they could have written her out of the show. You know, with Bruce Wayne, all last scene, it was just, well, Bruce went somewhere. We don't know where he is. He just kind of took off. And I just thought that was stupid. I didn't think it was something Batman would do. Certainly not long term. So it just never made sense to me. And, you know, they could have killed her, which I'm glad they didn't do. I don't think they should have killed the character. Of course, they didn't kill the character because they want to keep their options open, right? Who knows? Ruby Rose might agree to come back for an episode at some point to sort of formally pass the torch. Who knows? They might want to do a flashback, although I guess they could kill her and still do a flashback. But anyway, they chose not to kill her. I was glad for it. They chose to have her be missing in a plane crash, which on the one hand gives finality, right? If they don't find her, they can assume she's dead. That's done all the time in real life. So it works for the story. But because it isn't confirmed, like I said, they can always bring her back. And it isn't lame, like, oh, we don't know what happened to her. Did she get kidnapped by bad people? Did she, I think it's easier for them to now write the show and take it in the direction they want to go without constantly having to say, we're hoping she's going to come back, or we're going to have we're going to search for her, because the assumption is she's dead. And even if they keep a little bit of hope alive, they're pretty much, at least they should going forward, pretty much just assume she's no longer among the living. And I think that works better for the show than anything else. The weird thing was that at the beginning, they say if she was wearing the suit when the plane went down, she should have survived. And they go off about how it's a durable suit, and they say why she would have been able to survive with the suit on. I forget what they said. But, and they mentioned, falling from 10,000 feet. Of course, planes fly higher than that, but they mentioned 10,000 feet and that she would have survived if she had the suit on. So my thought was, really? Because that would mean she could fall off almost any building in Gotham and survive. Like, 10,000 feet's really high. And I get that it's Gotham and they have skyscrapers, but a fall from a building that isn't a skyscraper would kill most people. So if they're saying that the suit protects her from falls, they could literally kick her off, could have kicked her off any number of buildings in the first season and she would have survived, which would have been stupid. Not because you can't say you have a suit that would allow one to survive, but because there would literally never be any peril in her falling off a building. You know what I'm saying? And now they're gonna have the same problem going forward. So I thought that was weird. One of the early scenes, they show Ryan with her, I guess, social worker, and the social worker manages to work in a little blurb about the fact that she has, martial arts teaching experience. So I wrote down, they dropped her MA cred into the dialogue less than deftly. It was kind of done, and you do have this training, so you should be able to get a job. Like, they it was like don't forget to mention this particular thing. And it was a little ham-fisted, but they squeaked under. It wasn't overly ham-fisted. The next note I have is I wrote the first time in the suit scene was fun. She shows up and she kind of bumbles her way through, roughing up a couple of guys in her pursuit of trying to find her mother's killer, which, by the way, is her background. She puts on the suit and takes the suit to begin with because she wants to avenge her mother's death and see justice done for her mother's death. Her adoptive mother, her birth mother, died in childbirth. So that comes up more later. Now, another thing comes up when Luke and the sister are talking about trying to find Ryan, because they're trying to find her now, because she shows up and says, I'm keeping the suit for a while, and I need it for XYZ reason. And they say, well, we should be able to find her, or something like that. Somehow the GPS comes up, and whether or not Ryan turns it off. And I'm like, turns it off? How could you do that without a password? Is the GPS on the suit not password protected? Like, really? I did think that they ultimately did a good job of establishing the fact that Ryan has a motivation for wanting to use the suit. They start off by showing us flashbacks of her mother, what happened when her adoptive mother was killed. And I said, okay, we don't have the details because these are just little flashes, but we know that something happened to her. So that's good because they'll flesh this out as the season goes on. It'll be one of those mystery backstories like they did with Arrow. So I thought that was very good. But then they didn't do that. They bring out that her mom was killed by Alice's goons, just like Bruce's parents were killed by goons. And I thought that was a little cringy because it's kind of like the same backstory, but forgetting that little detail for the moment, they did a really good job in one scene in particular of explaining who Ryan Wilder is. It was exposition, but it was fit into the story in a way that flowed well and that made sense in the context of the story. And it wasn't just blurted out exposition in, like awkward dialogue, which happens in a lot of shows when they don't know how to do exposition correctly. They did it really well in this. They had Kate's adoptive sister or half sister looking into who Ryan Wilder was online because she figured it could help them find her and get the suit back. So she's reading off about Ryan's life story, and those moments were intercut or interspliced with scenes of Ryan in her van reading up on Kate Kane from a newspaper article talking about how Kate disappeared. So I thought it was really cool that they did it that way, and they bounced back and forth between the two women reading up on the two different people, because it, first of all, wasn't done one scene and then a second scene, which would have been kind of lame. It went back and forth, and you're kind of in this moment where you're realizing that these two characters are delving more into the backstory of the people that they're concerned with at the same time. And I thought that was a good narrative point. It also served to make Ryan understand that, Kate was really a real hero or a really sort of heroic person, and that maybe she wasn't up to the task, at which point she calls out to Lucius and the sister with the GPS, and says out loud to herself, "Come get your suit." And I think it helped the sister figure out that, hey, this person, is a person who got a raw deal, and we want to treat her with kid gloves. We don't want to be, harsh. And so I thought that was really good. And I don't remember them really ever doing this kind of good work on the other show. The writing was just very surface level, I thought, and I thought they really stepped it up in this episode. So if you remember last season, you remember that at the end, Alice fixes up, is it Hush? I think it's Hush, I'm not sure, her fellow Arkhamite to look like Bruce Wayne. So that sort of kicks in this season. The guy shows up and impersonates Bruce with Luke, and I think the sister, as well as Alfred's daughter. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is going to be one of those things where he impersonates Bruce all season long, and they like keep almost figuring it out, but don't figure it out and don't catch on. But they caught on like before the episode was over, and they just took that plot right out. And I was glad for that. I think that would have been lame, for it to keep, oh, what's fake Bruce going to do next? How is fake Bruce going to undermine the team next? I thought that would have gotten real old real soon. So I'm glad they got rid of that. Then he finds the Batmobile, this fake Bruce Wayne, which I thought was cool. The way he finds it was a little weird, but they didn't have a lot of options. But then he's just able to drive it. And I'm like, really? There's no password in the Batmobile either? Like, Batman doesn't have to scan his retina. He doesn't have to do a thumbprint. He doesn't have to say a password to a voice, identifier. He doesn't have to key in a password. He can just start the car and drive it. I wasn't buying that. Then when they figure out what happened, Lucius and the sister try to warn Ryan that he's coming for her because he wants the suit so that he can be Batman. And I was thinking, but the suit won't fit him anymore. It won't fit a man anymore. Certainly not one of his stature. So like, why? Like, I mean, he would have to alter it. How's he going to do that? Just going to go to the local tailor? I mean, I thought that was a dumb thing to say. Then there's a scene that I thought was really good where Kate and Alice's father uh, finds Alice hiding out in Wayne Manor, and he confronts her, and she sort of tearfully explains to him, "You idiot, Kate is Batwoman, and now she's gone, and that's because of you, or at least if it's not because of you, you didn't help. You chased her down and almost killed her yourself." And he's like, "You're lying, you're lying." She says, "If you don't believe me, put on the bat signal and see if she comes." And she kind of leaves. Um, he later does put on the bat signal and wait for her to show up, and she doesn't, and he just breaks down. And I thought, it was a well done moment. A lot of the stuff in the first season was not well done. Most of the stuff was not well done. Most of the emotional stuff was kind of forced. I felt this. I thought it was real. I felt like I was watching a father grieve his daughter and regret his past. Um, and the way they did it was just very poignant. Put on the light, see if she comes, and she never comes. I thought it was powerful. I thought they did a good job with that. So fake Bruce Wayne is now trying to find Ryan, and he, of course, can hone in on the suit as well from the Batmobile, which, by the way, was kind of a lame Batmobile. Like, I didn't expect it to be this $1 million, Batmobile on this CW show, but like, they could have done a little bit more with it than they did. I mean, there is CGI after all. They could have enhanced the car a little bit. That was kind of lame. But anyway, he's chasing after her and he's firing rockets at her. Like, okay, now not only can he drive the car, he can fire the weapons without a password. Like, did the car use facial recognition maybe and think it was Bruce Wayne? But how often does he get in the car without the mask on? Did it just do it by his chin? They don't ever say. And so I don't know. It was just it piqued my like red flag-o-meter. Anyway, he's firing rockets. And then the sister has to like remind Lucius that he can track or hack rather the Batmobile. Well, can't you hack the Batmobile? Oh yeah, you're right. Maybe I can. That's what he does. Why would he not automatically have assumed he could try to hack the Batmobile? I thought that was stupid. But overall, I liked this show. I found that I really like Javicia Leslie's Ryan Wilder more than I liked Kate Kane. And I can't believe I'm saying that because I watched the show for Ruby Rose initially, and she's the original. Well, she's not the original, but a Kane. Kane has always been the name of a Batwoman, at least modern Batwoman, and I wanted to stay a Kane. I wanted the character to stay the same because I don't like when they change main characters. It's really hard to pull off a show, after that usually. And I was like, I really think this is a mistake. But I find that I like the Ryan Wilder character better. I think there's more to her. And some critics are going to say, oh, they just piled on with this. She lost her birth mother. She's black and downtrodden. She lost her adoptive mother. She's, but I think it gives her character depth. The Kate Kane character they wrote was as damp as a deep sponge, unfortunately. And I think this character has depth. And this character has a sense of humor that Kate really didn't have. She smirked, if anything. She never laughed. This character, I can't say she really laughed, but she has a sense of humor. Her just demeanor gives off that she has a sense of humor, which I thought was really cool. And I just think she's a more well-rounded character at this point. Kate sort of grew up in privilege, and there was only so much they could do with that, although they did a great job of it with Batman. I don't know. I just think that the fact that this character is who she is and was written the way they wrote her adds a depth to it that resonates, at least with me, more than what they had come up with for Kate Kane. So, if they run with it and they handle it as well in the next, however many episodes they're going to be this season, 10 or 15 or however many, they'll do a good job because they did a good job with the first episode. And, they had a lot to squeeze into this first episode. They had to disappear Kate Kane, and they had to get the Batsuit into the hands of her replacement so they could have a Batwoman in the first episode. And I think they did a really good job. Of course, they rushed it. It was rushed. But at the end of the episode, she gives back the outfit. And she says, you know what? I thought I wanted this. I don't. I've decided I don't. You can have your suit back. So what that means is it's going to take her and the brother and her and the sister and Lucius coming together and deciding, or at least them convincing her that, you know what, we think you should give this a shot. We think you have what it takes, and Gotham certainly needs a hero, and, you know, we'll help you. And, you know, there's no one else who can step up right now and fill this role. So we want you to work with us and keep, you know, going out in the suit. And they didn't have to do that. They could have just had her get in the suit and say, okay, I'm Batwoman now, and take over, and from the jump just start. But they're showing you that, you know, the character realizes, hey, this is a little weird. This is not, you know, they're showing you that the character has the depth to know that she can't just jump right in. That, you know, it was a mistake to try that. And that she has the depth to sort of refrain from continuing on until she's convinced to do it, until people tell her, you know what, no, this is a good idea, but we got to do it right. So I think we're going to see that happen next episode, and I think that's great. So, because, you know, Kate Kane just shows up and says, yeah, you know what, in the first season, I'm going to do this. And she takes over the suit, and there's never a moment's hesitation. There's never a, hey, you know what, this is crazy. What am I doing? And I think that's one of the things that, in hindsight, made the show kind of silly. I think they're doing it right this time. I think because that's more the way a human would actually behave, right? If they just picked up this suit out of nowhere and went and tried to fight crime or whatever, and, you know, saw how daunting that is, a normal person would be like, yeah, no, that was a bad idea. Here, take the suit back. So I think it's going to make the show more realistic. It's going to make the character more real, to me. So I thought they did a great job with season 2, episode 1. And I'm looking forward to episode 2 more than I've ever looked forward to Batwoman since the premiere, you know, the eve of the premiere of season 1. So that's what I had to say. You can let me know your thoughts in the comments. You can email me. I put my email address up. I'd love it if you subscribed and, you know, click the notification bell and all that stuff. I will be back next week with another review. I'll be back with entertainment news as it happens. And I'm out. So until then, I say once again, peace and long life.